modifications to the 96 GMC 1500 with the 6.5 diesel, so we're giving a little bit more oomph, hopefully getting it up to the 454 horsepower numbers, and then making more torque than the big block as well, hopefully. But either way, it's going to be much stronger, with supposed to be a 2 mile per gallon gain with this new turbo. So I'll show you a list of what parts I have real quick. So right here we've got the A-Team turbo. That'll run you about 800 bucks. Here we've got an F-code intake manifold I pulled off of a HD service utility truck. That was I think about 125, and this one does not have emissions. You'll notice if you've got a half ton or some quarter tons, the S-code VINs will have vanes on the inside and vanes down here dividing everything. Obviously that hurts airflow, the flow of air. So I've found this one since I'm deleting emissions, it's in the tune as well. And I painted it Detroit Diesel Alpine Green because I think it looks cool. I do the whole motor if the motor was out, but for right now it's just going to be that. I got my Kojo tune to match the emissions delete and to match the turbo. Got a new oil pressure sensor just because. I've got Leroy Diesel's turbo oil return hose kit. That looks real nice. Hopefully that provides many miles of leak-free assistance. Here's some AC clicker things that I broke a while back, so I'm putting those back on, then I'll get my AC charged. And then I've got some gauges from Glow Shift, and I liked the digital blue, so that's what I got. It'll match my blue gauges in my truck already, so I think it'll look pretty cool. So the hard part is going to be the only things I foresee potentially being difficult in this is the turbo studs on the bottom. Can I get them? Some things, and also for me personally, making sure I can get the tranny dipstick mount off the rear of that engine. That seems to be kind of back up and under there, but other than that, everything seems pretty accessible. It'll be nice on this side of the motor having all this cleaned up, because that's all your emission stuff, and I'm just going to remove that entirely and just put a plug in the emissions thing right there. And with the tune, the computer should have no problem with that. Now on this side, the hardest part probably will be getting to the bottom of the bolts for the turbo. It's going to require removing all this, removing the battery, removing your inner fender wheel, which I would recommend taking the tire off. I've done it both ways. It's much easier with the tire off. And after that, if that's all I'm doing, I shouldn't have too much more to go other than just labeling connectors and saving bolts and trying to label everything as best I can for a quick reassembly. I shouldn't need to do too much. I might need to disconnect this upper radiator hose just to get a wrench there to get some bolts out of the manifold, but that's probably all the mess I'm going to make, really. Oh, and while everything's apart, if you're replacing injectors, now's the time to do that. Definitely. I'm not replacing injectors, mostly due to funding, but if I had a couple extra dollars, I would do them and the glow plugs too. Not because I need it right now. That's the reason why I'm not doing it, because truck runs great. There's no smoke really on startup, and it makes enough power. So I don't think glow plugs or injectors are an issue right now, but suppose I could always do it again later on if it comes down to being an issue. At least I'll be able to do it faster the second time around, right? But yeah, so I'm going to start disassembling this side. I am deleting the vacuum pump, so I'll probably have to take off the radiator shroud. You'll notice this is a Gasser radiator shroud, so if you have this on your truck's been in a wreck or something and someone switched over to this. The diesel radiator shrouds, instead of going downhill, they will all dip up. Okay. This truck had been in a front end wreck, and someone couldn't find the 6.5 parts truck. Obviously, I undone the battery cables, all the screws for the top of the thing. I'm just setting it over there because my battery cables are bolted to it, so I don't really need that side for right now, so I'm just going to set it up there. Next up is going to be the fender. There's going to be one bolt right here, that, don't forget about that one. It's going to need to come out to get this tray off, because this has got to slide up. There's a bolt on the back side of here. I couldn't get it out last time. I just couldn't figure out how to get it out. It's just a weird spot. It must need the right tool or something. But next up for me, you got to take this tire off. So jack it up, get the tire off, and then start finagling all the screws that are on the underside. You see them all. Those are all going to this thing, and we'll get that off next. I'm leaving all my bolts actually, just because I don't mind going slow, and I want to make reinstall really quick. So that's just me. I have the fender out. Just want to show you before I actually pull it out, because it's ready to be pulled out. These main bolts, you'll have bolts up along the edge, a couple in front, and the rest, you have a couple. This is for your battery, and a couple up there. After that, you just gotta pull it forward, pull it in, because it'll hit on the frame, it'll hit on the front lip here. Just pull them in, compress it. It is bendable a little bit. It is metal, so if it hits you the wrong way, it will cut. That's out, giving the inside a nice degreaser, rub down bath, and at least it'll make one side of your engine bay, once you get that back in, look real clean and all nice and tidy. So that's something to consider as well. But this is definitely, I would say, necessary for anything with this turbo. Makes the downpipe easier too, because now you go under here. So now I got access to downpipe. Really, this ground should be replaced. Both those grounds should be replaced. You can see some gunk back there. I don't know or not if that's from the valve cover. It's hard to tell, but I'm going to do the valve covers while this is all off, just to be safe, because I don't like... Now the bottom of these, honestly, look at the location of those things that you got to get to. Not exactly simple, especially on this side. The front side don't look too bad, but that fourth one, the downpipe definitely is going to come off for me to get back there. This is definitely what you got to do if you're doing injectors. On this side, the turbo. Not necessary for the turbo oil drain hose on the bottom, because down there, well, I take it back. You can get that from the front and underneath. That's what I did when I did mine. But yeah, it's pretty tight. Help get a wrench back there. Looks like there's gonna be 4 studs or 4 bolts coming up from the bottom, which you really only have space to get a wrench up there on this one once that downpipe is in. If you're doing glow plugs while you're back here, like there's 1, 2, 3. I'm not even sure what that's for. Oh, yeah. 1, 3, 4. If you're doing the glow plugs, you might as well. I'd almost recommend taking that off as well. But these 4 bolts, most guys are going to have a tough time with these because of the rust. Obviously, the looks like they're rusted pretty good together. Make sure you got your return feed, that needs to come off
before anything goes anywhere, as well as the top oil feed hose has to come off, get loose too. So keep it all in mind when doing this. There's a lot going on. I know this truck's a Southern truck, so it shouldn't be as fast as some of y'all, but still don't look like it's going to be a quick little pop it off real quick. But so I soaked in a PB Blaster last night. We'll see if it helps.
We just got the turbo off. Look at this right here. This back stud from the turbo goes down through. There's a nut on the back side. This is extremely hard to get in its stock location, so we ended up having to use an angle grinder up from the bottom and just grind everything off, and it worked. These other three were just some what's it called, PB Blaster, and that was able to come off pretty quick with no real problems. Granted, this is a Southern truck, so it's not as bad as some of y'all might be getting up there in the north. But this back guy in the back was a real pain, so be ready for that. So I just finished the drilling and tapping of the exhaust manifold. Make sure you're using a good tap set, or you tighten your Harbor Freight stuff down real tight, so the handle doesn't slip on your tap when it's going in. Let me show you what I did.
So I put mine right here and it fits. It's gonna work. Now you're saying, oh, you didn't put it in the center, which is true. For whatever reason at the time, everyone was saying I ended up with this guy right here. It was hitting, but now in hindsight, I must have been using the wrong angle or something, because I can clearly see it would have worked if I was gonna do it again. But the good news is that's gonna work. It's gonna give me a DT reading, so that'll work for now.
Okay, we're back at it. Finally getting the grounds ready to install back on the cylinder head back here.
Okay, I had this guy is screwed into this kind of stud right here, and it holds your grounds and your dipstick. Basically, if you pull this out, you're gonna need a new gasket, and all it is a what's the term? Thermostat gasket. It should be the same. Obviously, bring in your old piece if you need it, but it should be the same. And it's apparently both heads are not identical, or both heads are not separate. They can be interchanged between either side, and that's why there's the opening on both sides. So that's why you gotta have this piece. Intake manifolds back on. Torque down, 31 foot-pounds. Make sure you get your grounds back there, and your grounds right here. This thing is kind of a pain in the butt. I did the Feed the Beast mod up here. I went with the Walking J kit. It is kind of tight going down there, but it does fit. Make sure your hose goes above the fuel injector lines. It does not go underneath if you have that mod. Stock goes underneath. This kit goes above. It's too short to go below. As you see, I still got valve cover leakage, but this truck has 350,000 on it. I was just like, screw it, I can deal with a little bit of oil leaking. I already fixed the big leaks in the front and the drain hose, so I was like, whatever. I just didn't want to, really I just didn't want to undo the fuel injector lines. It just wasn't worth the time. But I got a new fuel filter manager, it's brand new, because my old one I'm pretty sure was leaking. And oh, I put new hoses here. All the hoses for the fuel filter housing was new. Grounds are new. So I just gotta go find the right gasket for the top now, and should be okay. So turbo's on them hopefully tomorrow. And
so in the kit I got for the oil return hose, it came with this one, and this no doubt seems very sturdy, but it was not very flexible, which meant I had to bend it pretty hard, and you could tell I was crimping on the inside. So what I did was I went and found some fittings at Summit and got my own hose and made my own, and this one is significantly more flexible and it's the right length with the fittings I have, so it should fit just fine. So the problem with that is these things are kind of expensive. I believe each end piece was close to $10, and 3 foot of hose is like $30. So making these looks awesome, but it is kind of expensive. See here, I have the turbo on. I still gotta do the top hose. I got the downpipe and the I got actually a good portion of it wrapped. Now I know it's not really four-wheel drive, maybe not the best thing if you're wheeling a lot, but my truck is not lifted. It's barely ever goes off road, so I was like, why not? I'll put some wrap on it. I don't know how much it'll help, but I figured it can't hurt. Now I just gotta stick my EGT probe and wire that, and then I'll be able to put on this fender. Here's how she looks. Gotta pick up one more sensor that I broke, but otherwise I'm playing with the A-Team turbo modification to the upper intake manifold right here. I'm switching over from the original over to a F intake. So I gotta cut this off 6 inches shorter. Either one, if you had either one, you'd do this. If you have an 18, but I have to cut this off to 6 inches shorter. And I did have it bolted onto this, and I was just stepping on it and then doing it to give me a nice place. And I got it all the way around, but there's a back little corner, as you can see, that I can't get without having that on. So I'm gonna do it right like this with my grinder and get that little bit off. This got very hot. I definitely recommend you having some kind of gloves if you're doing this. And just be careful, because obviously you don't want to pay health bills and rather be buying truck parts. So don't get injured and just be safe. So I'm nearly done. Got it all together, except for the radiator, basically. So as you can see, because it's been sitting so long, things have gotten a little rusty, which is kind of surprising considering it's literally just been sitting here, not doing anything. But you know, it is what it is. What we're talking about right here, though, is, look at this. I've had this radiator on for, I've just taken it off, I don't know, a couple months ago, 3-4 months ago, and there's already whatever this is from. It's not a whole lot, obviously, but just to show you that stuff accumulates. If you haven't taken it off in years, your radiator, probably stuff back there. But I just want to show you the differences, and if you have a 5.7 gasser truck, how easy it is if you want that advanced cooling power just to put the diesel radiator on. You gotta get the complete fan shroud. Fan shrouds are different. Bottom pieces are similar. I'll hold up the top pieces. So these are the two top pieces. As you can see, the diesel, the bolts here, and it goes up to cover the bigger radiator. The gasser, the bolts here and things go down, okay? So there's definitely a difference, not to mention the fan opening surprisingly is roughly the same, though. I just was doing it, but to get the bigger radiator in there, you do need to get the fan shroud. And it bolts up just like the gasser. This is a 5.7 gasser radiator. Literally it has the thing on the top. The 94 to 00 diesel ones do not. And it's been plenty used. Look how dirty it is. Don't know how old it is, but it's at least 30,000 miles since I've had it on this truck. And then here's the new one. It's not brand new, as you can tell, but it is. The guy told me he had roughly 100 miles on it.
before he parted out his truck that he was using. So I took it and I hope it's going to work. Go from there. Now, last thing is the Kojo Tune to 2000. These are relatively easy to replace. Okay, all you gotta do that, squeeze in, and it comes right down. Really easy. And then check it out, guys. Your computer's right here on the OBD2. I don't know about OBD1. I assume probably the same, but I've never seen one. Now, if I remember right, I guess not. Maybe I pulled these two out first. Two out, and then that back one was gives you a little bit of trouble. That back one is really hard to unplug. It's just a tray. Nothing on the side. Just a tray. There is the two holes back there for the two plugs like this. Okay. And the only difference is, I'm going to see if I can transfer these guys over to my new one. These clips, because those clips are what hold it in basically. Okay. Well, they're in there pretty good. 3 clips. I need a nice little hammer or something. You know they're in there because there's 2 little nubs that pass in. So now, as far as I can tell, Kojo Tune 6.5 diesel is ready to go in. Harness gets in the way very easily. Now, little guy, that side. Big guy, this side. And put your glove box on. That's all there is to changing out your Kojo Tune, your Heath Tune, what, Kennedy, Quadstar, whatever you got. Really ain't that bad. Just be careful of that harness. Make sure it's in and out of the way because it looks like it likes to get caught on things.